Okay, so this is gonna be a walkthrough of my 2022 Christmas light show. I'm just gonna start out at the front and walk through to the backyard and just explain and go into detail about the props I have and how I do things. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna look at is I have a bunch of snowflakes on poles and spread throughout the front yard. So the way I did the small ones is I reused some old ones that had burnt out rope lights. I removed them, and then I used some regular Christmas lights zip tied to it to replace it. And so the colors that I have is cool white and blue. So these next ones are slightly larger. They're made out of rebar welded together, and they also just have lights taped to them. And these ones are blue. And then these ones are even bigger. And so these ones are slightly different. I just used 1/2-inch PVC pipes that are with some 90-degree and 45-degree fittings to make this shape. They're just screwed to a 3/4-inch plywood base. And these lights are cool white. So the way I have these mounted is I have a fence post driven into the ground a few inches, and I just use these these U-bolts to attach the pipe. I don't know what the pipe is from, but it's just a 6-foot black pipe just attached to it. And then the snowflakes mount with a conduit hanger strap. And I noticed they were they would move around in the wind, so I added just some guy wires with just 1/16 inch some wire. It had crimps on the end, and I just used some regular stakes to attach it to the ground. And so to run power to the ones in the middle here, there was a cable buried here going from the side of the house going right here. So we found it. And I added a sprinkler box here. It's just an outlet. Here's the cable coming in, just an outlet, and it just plugs into there. Just made up this mount. It's not very nice, but it works. The sprinkler box keeps it covered from animals or whatever. So I have a few more snowflakes up here, and this one is the biggest one that I have. It's just made out of 1/2-inch rebar. It's just welded together, and I used some blue C7 lights on it. This one's a bit heavier, so I used a bigger post going into the ground, and I just had some uni strut laying around, so I just attached it to that, and I used some large U-bolts to attach it to the strut, as it's a lot heavier, so that it won't fall. And again, just the guy wires going down, secure it from the wind. The way you run power is just some 25-foot cords. They have triple taps on the end, and just they go to each one. That was the best way I could figure out to do it. And so on the front here, I have some bushes just wrapped in lights, nothing special. These pillars wrapped in garland with also some warm white lights, and then the rest, these bushes here, just have warm white lights on them as well. And on the house, we have it a bit different than with how most people do it. We just have a rope light attached to it and to the gutters of the house, and it's up all year long, so it's nice. You don't have to climb up onto the roof to put up lights every year, so it's a lot easier that way. And so on the side here, I made these presents just out of, again, it's just 1/2-inch PVC with some fittings. with like green lights zip tied to it. And the way I made the boat, like the ribbon of it, is I laid out a sheet of plywood, and then I bent the PVC heated up with a heat gun, and I bent it around like screws, and so that's how I got it to be curved. I have a big green one, a smaller red one, and then the smallest one is just white. It's pretty simple. They look really nice at night, and I've had them for like 3 years. It was actually pretty easy to make. I just have them like the feet are just slipped over some rebar driven to the ground, and they have guy wires, so so it helps them stay up especially when there's wind. Okay, and this is so the next thing I want to talk about is this tree. This is actually my neighbor's tree, but he let me put lights on it. And the way I put lights on the trees is this: I have a 24-foot extendable painter's pole. I used a bent paint roller hook on the end, and I can reach up all the way to the top. These are just regular white lights, and so the way I like to power them is to have like power going in like every three strands. So I connect 3 strands end to end, and then I add another source of power going in, so that way if a section breaks, like, it's easier to identify, and it's I can know like which section is out. And you don't want too many strands going end to end, because then fuses blow. That's not very nice. And I just have all the power injection points going into like a triple tap cord that just goes down. And then the next thing is going to be these tomato cage trees that I have, and I made a custom controller for them. All it is, it's a tomato cage with the points tied together, and I added some chicken wire to stop the lights slipping up. And so I have 8 of them going down the side of the driveway, and each one has to get its own cord, because they all go into a controller that I made. This is right here. So all this controller is it's in like a outdoor kind of like enclosure. I have a bag over it usually, but I took it off. And so all it is it's a Arduino Nano that controls 8 relays. Each one of these relays controls 1 tree. So that's how I get the chasing effect, is just by each tree having its own channel, and each one gets turned on and off individually. And so I have all the connections come out in here, and each of the 8 trees plugs into each of its own outputs on the controller. I just have it in the box so the rain doesn't mess anything up. Okay, next is I just have some bushes here with blue and some net lights on them. This each one is its own thing. I have another multicolored bush at the end. I have a Christmas tree on the patio. That's just white and red lights. And we have this other bush. I just put some multicolor lights on it. And so the way I like to keep water and ice out of because I made these it's just 6 outlets. It's better than the power strip. I don't like using power strips. They can't really, I don't like using them with like a lot of current. These are just regular outlets. They handle it a lot better. And I put them in boxes like this. There's like a flap so snow doesn't get into it and corrode all the connections. And I just plug everything into it, close the box, and find that it keeps the snow out really well. So next I'm gonna talk about these balls. So all it is a 4-foot long piece of chicken wire that's just made into a ball shape. And I put a pole on the ground to keep them elevated a little bit and stop them from rolling around in the wind. I just have anywhere from 150 to 200 lights on them find that 200 looks the best. It's really full and it looks really nice. And to power them, I bought some. This is just SPT2 wire. It's just regular lamp wire, about a long big spool of it, and you can just order these plugs that go onto it on the internet, and you can basically just make your own extension cords with plugs whenever you need them. In this case, they're 25 feet apart. All the balls are around 25 feet apart, and it gives a really nice effect at night. So next, these trees, it's just regular LED lights, and I find that, so I made these poles. It's just 1/2 inch PVC with screws every around 2 inches, and when you go with the wrap the lights around, it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to go around the tree. You just go from the other side and just go back and forth. It's a lot easier and faster, and it's easier to get even spacing on it because the screws guide you basically, so you can get even spacing. The lights, they have moved a little bit, but beginning of the year it was just fine. And I have some floodlights going into the trees. I'll talk about those later. And on this one, it's just the same thing. I have just a regular light bulb, moved a little bit, but it's just a stake that you can stick in the ground. I just attach it to the tree. It works really well, and it's a lot easier than putting it in the tree. These trees are like 40 feet tall, so it'll be pretty difficult to put lights in them. So next, I have 2 of these trees in the backyard here, and I just wrapped them in the same way that I did the other one at the front of the house, just with the 24-foot pole. And I just used, this one is white and that one is multicolor. I just had a lot of those lights laying around, so I used them, and I did it in the same way where there's power going into multiple points to spread out the load, so it's not just on one set of lights. And just a cord going to the other tree. There's another ball. This one, same way. It's just multicolored lights. And then I just have a big cord, because these are not LEDs, so they use around 5 amps total. So I wanted to use a bigger cord, so everything plugs in to that one. So next is gonna be, I have a 25-foot pole with a star on it. This is just I believe it's 1.5 inch gas pipes, 2 10-foot lengths with a coupler in the middle, and there's just a star that I have made out of 1/2 inch PVC with rope light going around it. For the base, it's like a specialty base. You can order them online, so it's just a big sheet of metal, and then the pipe screws into the middle. It holds up really nice. So I just have some 40-pound weights on it, and 3 guy wires anchoring it. We've had some pretty strong winds, and it hasn't moved an inch, so I would say this works out pretty well. And so on the garage, I have a 10-foot PVC star, again made out of 1/2 inch PVC. It's just covered. It has multicolored lights on it. It looks really nice from the street. The garage is pretty far back from the street, so it looks pretty cool. You can see it from the other street over there from the back, and it looks really nice. It's just I believe it was 5 10-foot sticks of PVC with long bolts going through the lights around, and I just have some ropes tying it off so it doesn't fly off. Again, we've had some pretty big winds this year, and it hasn't moved an inch. So the way I have power set up is this. It's a 30 amp. You have the breaker. It's a 30 amp plug in here, and I just have a flat cord running under the garage so it doesn't pinch it. And I have another box here that goes to a longer one, and the main power distribution thing I have set up is over there. But the show uses The display uses around 20 amps. Again, well, this one's using like 11 amps, and then the other leg of it is using 8 amps, so it's around 20 amps total for the show. And so the way I have this set up is the 30 amp cord goes into here. It goes into the bottom right here. This is the main end, and there's a contactor in here which gets controlled. I have a smart plug inside of the house, and the cord just runs outside and goes into this cord just turns the entire show on, so everything turns on at one time. I like how that looks. I don't like when how there's just multiple timers and everything turns on at different times. And so this is the main panel, so all these plugs turn on at the same time whenever the smart plug turns on. So I have a lot of different things going everywhere. See, just some extra cords. That one goes up to the star on the roof. And so I have this is another controller that I made, similar to the one with the chasing trees. It's the same thing in Arduino, controlling some relays. It's under the bag there, and I just have this tree with lights going. They go up and over, and gives it looks like it's in chasing. It's animated tree. It looks pretty cool. I really like how that looks. And I have some trees here, Christmas trees. And then I made this snowman I think around 5 years ago. It's getting kind of old, so I made a frame out of some wood, and I used this plastic fencing they use at construction sites. It was orange. I painted it black so you don't see it at night, and I just took some rope light and then I zip tied it in the shape of a snowman. He has a little candy cane. He's holding a candy cane. The eyes, nose, and then the buttons, they're just old school C9 lights, and that's all that I had. So I just used in top and the hat just some red rope lights. It's not bad. I might do another one with LED lights, but this one looks, I like how it looks. And so we have, and in the back we have two big Christmas trees. Basically they look really nice trees. They're around 30 feet tall. And so the way I have these lit up is these are just floodlights. They're Color Blast 12s, if I can remember. I bought them on eBay used for I got a really good deal on them. I think it was $200 for 12 lights and then the 2 control boxes. So they're not just regular you plug into the wall. They have to have, under the bag is a controller that each one plugs into, so each light has to plug in by itself, and it's a special connector, so you can't accidentally plug it into the wall and ruin it. So they're just I believe they've been used as for concert lights, as floodlights light up a wall or something. Either way, they look. I have 5 of them on each tree. This one's red, that one's green. It looks really nice at night. It gives it a 3D look, which is different than just having lights on. It lights up all the branches, and it looks really nice. So I like the effect, and it's a lot easier than putting lights on. You don't have to use a pole or anything. You just point the floodlights, adjust them, and it looks nice. And in the back, I had some leftover blue LEDs, and so these are the neighbor's trees. He let me put them on. It's just regular lights wrapped around a spiral pattern. Again, it does look pretty nice in the back. It's nothing special though. And here's some more balls. And so I have an arch going out of the exit to the patio. It's just some color changing lights. I think they were from Costco. You know, they go from white to multicolor. It looks pretty nice at the night. And I just have some wreaths with blue and white lights around here. And so like the way I like to keep my connections waterproof is so rain doesn't get into them, is I put a bag over everything, and it keeps it out. But like you have to make sure that it points up. So like the bag isn't to keep the water out, it's to protect it. So if water does get in, it can go out, and you have to make sure you point this is the opening of the bag. You have to be sure that it points down, so if any water does get in, it can get out. And so another thing I see commonly is by the displays by my house is like they put everything in bags, and then water gets into the bags and trips the GFCI, and half the lights aren't on. And so to avoid that, you have to make sure the bags are pointed upright to keep the water out. And so this is the cord that's running out to the box over there that controls everything. So on the other side of this wall just goes in the basement, and that plugs into the smart plug. I just added this outlet here. There's a hole in the wall. I don't know why, but it came in handy. The cord just runs out all the way to the garage. And then the final thing is I just have there's this like railing here. I just added some white lights to it. Looks nice. And so this is like the other end of the box over there that's running power to the snowflakes at the front. This is the other end. It's just I attach this wire to it, and then this just plugs into here, and this is going to snowflakes, and that's going to the front. I also bought this long, like 300 footer, like the cord on eBay. I think it's like a 1430. It's a two phase, like there's two hot wires in it. I just bought this adapter that just runs all the way to the other side. And that's basically it.